What if there was a Speed Fury in the Pokemon world? Now, when I say what if there was a Speed Fury in Pokemon world, I mean, what if there was an alternate version of this guy, my character? Let me back that up a little bit. There we go. This is my character, Speed Fury, from the series I'm working on called Gladiator Masters. Now, there's a multiverse in that series, and each multiverse has a different version of Speed Fury. Each universe in that multiverse has a different version of Speed Fury, but only in his multiverse. This is a what-if scenario of what if there was one in the Pokemon universe. Or if there was a Pokemon universe in Speed Fury's multiverse. Now, how is this going to go down? Well, first off, let me explain where Speed Fury came from. He's an alternate version of me that's half human, half Omni-Giant. The Omni-Giants are the protectors of all of reality, and he is the last one that remained after they were all killed off by one of their own turning against them was Molzor. Ignore my little foot. Molzor ends up being the father of Speed Fury, and Speed Fury was initially planned to receive his powers at the age of 30, or have them unlocked, but things happened and he was forced to have those powers unlocked for him at the age of 18, which resulted in him becoming the guardian of reality at a very young age. Even if it wasn't at the age of 30, he still would have been rather young. Once you get your powers as a Gladiator Master, you stop aging. Speed Fury then formed an entire army of these heroes to protect all of reality, but he was still the strongest. He's able to manipulate reality, if you didn't know. He's broken as heck, basically. Like, I'm talking like he does it with a little to no effort whatsoever. He's the strongest version of Speed Fury. He's from the universe called Dimension 16, which is usually I reference in a lot of my usernames on games and stuff. Like on Fortnite, my name is Speed Fury D16. Anyway, but Speed Fury, while he seems to be like what you would imagine a superhero would be like, he's not very heroic. When I say not very heroic, I don't mean like he's brutal and villainous. I mean that he just doesn't act like what you'd expect a hero to act like. Under normal circumstances, you'd expect him to be like all savior and stuff and pose for the camera. He doesn't do any of that. He hates being on TV. He also hates attention. That comes from his autism. And yes, I have autism too. I just don't go out and say it that much. Unless, somebody asks about it. Other than that, it's not really important for people to know about it. Anyway. But, yeah, he doesn't get along with the government or the media in general because of the fact that, he doesn't really care how people see him. All he cares about is doing his job and protecting people. And yes, he does care about the people he's protecting, but he doesn't care what they think of him. Because what's important to him is making sure people are safe, regardless of if they like him or not. Similarly to Spider-Man. But, a lot more blunt and non-caring about what people think. Anyway, let's get on with the story. So, Speed Fury, or as he's known before he gets his powers, as Weston. He's a Pokemon trainer that unfortunately got himself caught up in one of Team Rocket's Team Rocket's plans to steal Pokemon. He tried to stop them. Him being somebody who doesn't stand for people who use Pokemon for evil intentions. Unfortunately, he almost lost his life in the process, and many of his Pokemon were also taken. Actually, all of his Pokemon were taken. And he's on the verge of death at this point. However, before he dies, he is visited by the god of Pokemon himself, Arceus. Arceus telling him that he is actually one of the few humans on the planet who he sees as worthy of being the chosen one. But that path is not for him. That path has already been set up for another. And if you don't know who that is, that's Ash. We're talking about Ash here. In this universe, Ash isn't going to be as useless. So Arceus says, I will give you a different role. The protector of the planet and the universe of the Pokemon that this planet I made is in. And Arceus tells him he will have the abilities of multiple different kinds of Pokemon in the Pokemon world. His appearance will also drastically change. And it doesn't look like this Speed Fury. It looks very different. Remember, this is just what I'm showing you what he normally looks like. And Speed Fury is then, Weston is then engulfed by a bright light. When the light fades, his body is drastically different. Many parts of his body have been upgraded with, well, Pokemon body parts. For instance, here's the picture, by the way. On his back are the wings of a Gliscor. He has the crest of a Glaceon on top of his head, the eyes of a Luxray, the horns of a Tapu Bulu. His shoulders, chest, and stomach area have parts reminiscent of three of the creation trio, being Giratina, Dialga, and Palkia. His feet are that of a Heatran, so he can actually run on walls. He has the poisonous barbs of a Toxicroak on the top of his hands. Similar to how Wrath has his and Ben 10 or Wolverine has his. The palms of his hands have holes in them to blast either fire or stone, like Rhyperior or Magmortar. And his skin turned blue. He also has the extra limbs on his back of a Galvantula. Now, why did I turn his skin blue? Well, because most of the speed... That's just the Speed Fury thing. They all have blue skin. Also, why did I keep his hair looking mostly the same? Well, he also has the mane of a Luxray, and the mane of a Luxray isn't too different from Speed Fury's regular hairstyle, so I just kind of went with that. Anyway, Speed Fury is then placed back on the planet in the exact spot where he nearly died, and is told to find other Pokemon and possibly humans that are worthy of receiving Arceus' power to upgrade them. Arceus will upgrade them using, let's say, some human DNA so they can actually speak English, because they are going to have to interact with other humans, and humans aren't going to understand their intentions if they can't really speak human. As well as infusing them with multiple types, not as many as Weston has, because Weston has all the types in him, as you can tell from all the Pokemon I chose to fuse him with, because I needed to have all the types. Oops. The only type that's not in there is Normal, because Normal has literally no advantage whatsoever on anything else, except for Ghost. And even then, it also has a disadvantage over Ghost. Anyway. So, Weston decided to go by a different name, because Weston doesn't exactly sound like something that, people would fear. And he wants people that he's going to be fighting to fear him. They need to fear him, if he ever has to fight anybody. And so, a name came to him. A name that he didn't know why it came to him, but he just knew that it felt right. Speed Fury. Now, Speed Fury of this universe... Now, Speed Fury didn't know this, but this name was shared by multiple other people that had an alternate versions of him across the multiverse. And, of course, he may never know this, but, he'll eventually meet those other Speed Furies. Maybe. So, Speed Fury set out on his adventure. His adventure to keep the people that are innocent safe from the ones who would hurt them. He most of the time spent time out in the wild, and because of the fact that he was made of different parts of Pokemon as well as humans, he could actually speak to the Pokemon now, and he had made several friends along the way. Although none of them had been truly worthy of wielding the power that Arceus was willing to bestow upon him. Now, for those of you who are about to say I'm pronouncing Arceus wrong, Arceus, Arceus, whatever the heck you want to pronounce it, they're all right, but I'm going to call it Arceus because that's what they say in the anime. So, anyway. Speed Fury then came across a small town in the Kanto region, and he can travel across the world rather quickly. Remember that. The Speed Fury is just as powerful as Arceus is. Not as strong as the actual Speed Fury, but still pretty strong. He noticed that there was a small child playing with a bunch of his friends. This child had black spiky hair and seemed to have something about him that was very familiar. He then realized that this was the chosen one. This was the destined chosen one. At this point, Ash is actually just still like a little kid, like 5 years old. Speed Fury thought to himself, "I'm going to keep an eye on this kid. He's destined for greatness, and I want to make sure that he knows what he's going to be doing." So every now and then, Speed Fury would come back to Pallet Town to check and see what Ash is currently up to. He had made friends with several other legendary Pokemon, and had even found out that Ho-Oh had planned to mark him as the chosen one on the day that he sets out on his journey. Speed Fury said that he would make sure to be there on the boy's 10th birthday because he had found out enough information of how old he was. Now there have been many humans who had actually seen Speed Fury and assumed that he was actually a rare Pokemon. But when they tried to throw a Pokeball at him, he either grabbed it with his hand and crushed it, or it just bounced off of him and did nothing. Thanks to his human DNA, the Pokeballs didn't really register him as a Pokemon. And there's also the fact that, he's not a Pokemon at all. He didn't start out as a Pokemon, he still isn't one. He's the guardian of the planet, since Arceus can't, constantly be doing it himself. Eventually, the day finally came that Izuku was going. I mean, why did I say Izuku? I mean that Ash was going on to his Pokemon journey. Now, Ash had actually seen Speed Fury a few times, but never really thought anything of it. He thought they was just dreams because he was a little kid at the time. But as Speed Fury kept his eye on Ash, he noticed that Ash did not get along well with his starter Pokemon at all. Like they did not have good chemistry, but that was to be expected considering that of how Pikachu came into contact with Ash. This is the first time where Speed Fury was willing to reveal himself to a human that would be a child that wouldn't understand what's going on. But as Ash was about to what does he do? Oh yeah, as Ash is about to try and jump for a Pidgey, he is startled by a blue figure landing in front of him. A blue figure that looks somewhat human, but has obvious traits of certain Pokemon that Ash doesn't know about at the moment. None of them are Kanto Pokemon. I just realized that none of the Pokemon that that Speed Fury has the powers of are from Kanto. Ash looks up, thinking that he's some kind of Pokemon, until he speaks. Ash Ketchum. I am here to give you some news. Ash is stunned and wonders how this Pokemon can talk, and which then Speed Fury deadpans and says, "I'm not a Pokemon. Just because I look weird does not make me a Pokemon." Ash apologizes and Speed Fury says, "I wish to give you something that would help you on your journey." Not Drax. Speed Fury then reaches his hand out and touches Ash on the top of the head. Before he flies away, he tells Ash that he has given him the power to understand Pokemon, so that he will be able to communicate with his partner easier. Which actually this would result in Ash actually being able to understand Pikachu easier, and for them to get along much quicker than they did in the original continuity. Over time, Drax would check in on Speed Fury would check in on Ash. I'm used to saying Drax because usually Drax and Ash are the ones that are together and not like just journeying together, and Speed Fury isn't in the Pokemon universe. Anyway, Speed Fury would then continue to travel, looking around, meeting new Pokemon, and he then stumbles upon an island that seemed to radiate psychic energy. No, not the island. Something in the island. He went down and noticed a laboratory. He then turned himself invisible using the powers of Latios. Yes, he has powers of other legendary Pokemon. Even though he doesn't have the appearance, he does have those powers. Anyway, he makes himself invisible and goes into the laboratory to see what's going on, and sees that the scientists in this laboratory are creating a clone of the mythical Pokemon Mew. Or legendary, because mythical is technically a term that the fans made up. Anyway, he watches for a minute and finds out what their plan is, and that Giovanni is the one responsible for this. the one who nearly caused his death. Speed Fury, angered by this, teleports all the scientists off the island and erases their memories of ever wanting to create a clone of Mew. He, however, looks into their research and decides to finish their little project. While the Pokemon is only still a baby, he will finish their project, but he will not use Mewtwo for the same thing that these humans wanted to use him for. He did other things in helping to bring this Pokemon to life. Clearly, Arceus wanted him to be created, otherwise he would have stopped these humans from doing so. When Mewtwo woke up, he noticed a figure outside of his glass. This is now at the current time where Mewtwo Strikes Back would begin. As Mewtwo saw a blue figure that was blurred out thanks to the fact that he's in a glass case, he wondered what that was. He wanted to know what it was, and the glass shattered, alerting Speed Fury to what happened behind him. He turned to see Mewtwo, and Mewtwo stared back for a minute before asking, "What am I?" Speed Fury responds with, "You were designed to be a clone of Mew, the Pokemon that is said to have the traits of all other Pokemon, or at least being able to learn the moves of the others. You were originally designed to be a weapon for the man known as Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket. However, I'm the one who has brought you into this world now. Through the same process they were going to use. However, I will not permit to you. I will not use this do with you the same that they were going to do. They would use you as a weapon, but you are a living being, meaning you have the right to choose." Mewtwo stared back and asked him what are his choices. Speed Fury simply said, "That's for you to decide. I don't control you. Only you. You're the only one that has the right to shape what you're going to do with your life. The only reason I stuck around is because I wanted to make sure that you were created. Make sure that you did not see the negative sides of what humanity has to offer." Speed Fury then said that he will not see Mewtwo very often, but he does wish that Mewtwo will be well and make sure that he learns all he can about the humans and Pokemon of this world, knowing that he will be just fine on his own. While Mewtwo asked him why he could not stay and teach him more, Speed Fury said, "Unfortunately, I cannot stay. There are other things that I must do. As the guardian of this world and the Pokemon universe as a whole, I am forced to constantly be on the move, keep an eye on the world and its inhabitants, make sure nothing is out of place." With that, Speed Fury left. Mewtwo seeing life in a different way than how he did in the original. Speed Fury was now traveling through the Hoenn region, looking for anything that he needed to do. He then came across a tribe. Is it a tribe? I don't know what it would be called. Anyway, a tribe of the Ralts line, full of Gardevoir, Gallade, and Kirlia and Ralts, of course. This tribe he was very familiar with. He actually had often visited them to talk with them, as they were the closest thing to human-looking creatures that he could find. And since he started his life as a human, he felt more comfortable conversating with them over any other Pokemon. He would often visit this tribe of Pokemon, and they would always accept him with open arms. There were one Gardevoir and Gallade, however, that he especially liked interacting with, a brother and a sister. The two of them saw him as their closest friend and ally, and he would often talk with them most often. He'd been talking with them since they were actually Ralts and Kirlia. And Gardevoir especially was more closer with him than the Gallade was. The Gallade did still see him as a friend, but the Gardevoir was the one who always was fascinated to hear about his stories and secretly wanted to join him and become a guardian just like he was. She felt sad for the fact that he had been alone for all these years and had been doing his job without anybody to assist him. Speed Fury was here for another reason besides just to talk with them, though. He had talked with them enough, and Arceus had deemed both of them worthy of coming with him, but he would not force them. He offered it to both of them, with Gallade saying he would want to think about it a bit more, but Gardevoir agreed right away. Speed Fury then began traveling with Gardevoir. Now, he actually had to help Gardevoir train a bit more before she received Arceus' power. For one, he had to balance out her abilities. The fact that Gardevoir couldn't really take a physical hit very well and couldn't dish it out just as equally, it bothered him. So he wanted to help her learn how to, focus more on physical moves and physical defense. It was the opposite with Gallade, which also bothered him, but he would get to that when, Gallade decided to join him, if he decided to join him. Gardevoir eventually balanced out her abilities and was able to finally fight with close proximity. Speed Fury had decided that he would wait a little bit before gifting Gardevoir with new power, as usually he would want the people that he recruited to decide what their powers would be. Speed Fury then brought Gardevoir to the Indigo Plateau, where currently the current Pokemon League was going on, and currently the one of Ash's battles was happening. The battle between him and the girl with the Bellsprout. Forgot what her name is. And in this continuity, Ash has an entirely different team besides Pikachu. Instead of having just Pikachu, Ash actually had caught multiple other Pokemon. He had a Gengar. He had a Charizard. He still gets the Charizard too. He has a Gengar, a Charizard, a Dragonite, what's it called? Hisuian, forgot what his name is. Hisuian Zoroark, which he actually caught thanks to a time rift opening up. He has a Lopunny, which he actually obtained via the Safari Zone, which had recently gotten a bunch of Sinnoh Pokemon. And his latest Pokemon, which he had caught recently, which kind of surprised Speed Fury that he already had one, was a Zapdos. Now Ash doesn't really get any electric Pokemon in the anime besides Pikachu, but I'm saying that he does get Zapdos because I just want him to have at least one legendary Pokemon in his first journey. He'll catch more later, but not now. He also noticed that he was traveling with two of the gym leaders, a gym leader and a former gym leader, since he had been keeping tabs on Brock's father. Ash had explained to his friends on multiple occasions that he had actually met a strange being who gave him the power to understand Pokemon, but many times his friends didn't believe him and thought he was crazy. Nobody could understand what Pokemon were saying, unless, it's Meowth. Until then suddenly, both Speed Fury and his partner, or his, teammate, Gardevoir, appeared in front of them. Ash not knowing what a Gardevoir was at this yet, but he did know who this person was. Ash then pointed at his friends and said, "Told you guys that I saw a strange being." Brock noticed that there were several recognizable features from other Pokemon that were across the world, like the Galvantula legs coming from his back, or the odd protrusions on his upper body that had very similar appearances to the Creation Trio from Sinnoh. He recognized a few other things, like the holes in his hands that were reminiscent of a Rhyperior. Him being a Rock-type master, he would know this. Misty, of course, thought he was some kind of Pokemon like Ash did, but Brock knew otherwise. This being had too much of a human face to be a Pokemon, and he had too much of a human disposition about him. And the Gardevoir following him around didn't seem to be his Pokemon, but it did seem to be with him. Not in that kind of way. Just, traveling with him. I see that you've finally gotten to the Indigo League. I hope your journey didn't have too many problems along the way. Ash told Speed Fury that he didn't have very many problems at all. He had a few mess-ups with a rather strange group of Team Rocket thugs, but other than that, he was pretty fine. Speed Fury asked him if he beat Giovanni to earn his badge. Ash said, "No, I actually had to fight Team Rocket. It was weird." Speed Fury then told Ash that Giovanni is actually the leader of Team Rocket, and that he's planning on getting his gym shut down and get replaced with a better gym. Ash didn't know that the gym leader himself was actually the leader of Team Rocket, and that now explained why Team Rocket was the one he had to battle to get his badge. But Ash then asked him what his reasoning is for being. And Speed Fury simply said, "It's my role to protect the people and Pokemon of this planet and of this universe. I do not care how people see me, and I do not reveal myself to humans very often. You three are some of the only humans who have ever seen me. That and my parents." Ash said, "You have parents?" Drax looked at him and said, "Of course I have parents. I used to be a human, well, full human, until Arceus gave me this power." Brock and Misty were shocked that he knew who Arceus was, and then realized that of course he would know, considering his power, and that he's obviously made of different parts of Pokemon as well as human. Ash, not knowing what Arceus was, asked Speed Fury what an Arceus was, and Speed Fury simply said, "The time will come when you know about Arceus, but that time is not now. However, I do want to introduce you to my newest teammate, and she may look different the next time you see her." He introduced the Gardevoir that was now on his team, explaining that he would also allow her to rename herself after she received her powers, her upgraded powers. Ash then asked Speed Fury if there was a region that he recommended after his journey through Kanto was, done. Speed Fury recommended the Johto region, as it was right next to Kanto, and it would probably provide a significant adventure for him. Ash nodded his head to this and said that then his next journey will be to Johto. Speed Fury then left once again to continue his path. He returned to the tribe of Gardevoir and Gallade and Ralts and Kirlia, and Gallade agreed to go with him on the journey and join his team. Many Pokemon at this point had actually heard of Speed Fury's existence and wanted to meet him. One of those Pokemon happened to be a superior, and not just any superior. His partner, that from when he was a human, that he had been searching for. She had been forced to work for Team Rocket, and Speed Fury had finally found her. His superior was a regular superior. Of course, Drax was actually from Unova, and that's where he got his starter. When he finally got reunited with his superior, he broke her and the rest of his Pokemon out and recruited them all to his team. With Superior wondering what happened to him, and he said that he was blessed by Arceus to protect all the people of this world, and he wanted his Pokemon to work with him. They will no longer be his Pokemon as a trainer, but they will be his partners and his friends, and his teammates in his new squadron. He hadn't decided what he wanted to name this team yet. Arceus gave him full permission to name whatever team he came up with. But he promised his superior and the rest of his Pokemon that they will be given new power. But that is a story for another time. next time we talk about Speed Fury's journey throughout Johto. Well, not Johto, but, you know, the rest of the world. But it's mostly going to be in Johto because that's where Ash is, and he's supposed to be keeping an eye on him. Anyway, see you next time.